I want you to watch this video over here of South African women that are denying a Zimbabwean woman and her children healthcare in South Africa. They are persecuting this woman and her children on the basis that she's a Zimbabwean and on the basis that she is illegal. That is discrimination. It is against South African law. No South African has a right to identify anyone as an illegal immigrant or anybody as somebody who shouldn't be in South Africa. That is the job of Home Affairs. No South African has the right to deny anyone healthcare in South Africa on the pretext that they are illegal because you don't know their papers and their status. This is before I remind you that the Constitutional Court of South Africa made a ruling in which they said that any women and children that are foreign, refugees, or even illegal are entitled to healthcare in South Africa. And that's before I remind you of the Refugee Convention that says any person, man, woman, child, who runs away from their country into another country, running away from persecution, such a person is a refugee even if they've entered the country illegally. They must be regularized and given papers for them to be a refugee, and then they must be given a job, basic healthcare, and other basic needs. This convention is clear that even if a person is illegal, if they are running away from persecution, that person still remains a refugee. The fact that a person does not know how to apply for refugee status, the fact that they don't have the knowledge, does not make them any less of a refugee. That means that any Zimbabwean that ran from the persecution of illegal Western sanctions and the destruction caused by those very same illegal Western sanctions is entitled to being realized as a refugee and to be regularized by the South African government. So, this is persecution of refugees. It is persecution of women and children that are entitled to healthcare in South Africa. And the question that all of us have is, when did Africans start becoming illegal immigrants in South Africa? Considering that when the leaders of South Africa went into exile, they had no papers. They moved into our countries without papers. And when they got into our countries without papers, they were regularized by our governments because they entered into those countries on the pretext that no African is illegal in Africa. When Chris Hani and his group were fighting against the Rhodesian government in Zimbabwe, that was Rhodesia at that time, they fought, and when they got defeated, they ran into Botswana. When they got into Botswana, they were arrested. After being arrested, the AU sent a delegation to Botswana, and that delegation told the Botswana government that no African is illegal in Africa. And because of that, Bo Chris Hani, who had been sentenced to many years in prison, were released in 6 months. There was an understanding by the South African leadership that no one is an illegal immigrant in Africa. But today, they have forgotten this. Today, they've forgotten that they taught Africa what immigrating into a country without papers is, and they got papers in those countries and were regularized in line with the Refugee Convention by African leaders. But South Africa has not done the same for Africans. Why? And don't forget that by coming into these neighboring countries as illegal immigrants, the Boers attacked those countries. They bombed those countries. They invaded those countries with their armies. And so those countries had to defend their territory because they wanted to keep South African exiles in their land. No African country would have been invaded had they ejected the leaders of the ANC. And let me tell you, there were wars fought in Namibia, wars fought in Angola, wars fought in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Botswana. In Zimbabwe, we fought a war for 6 years in Matabeleland against rebels that were being funded in Matabeleland, just like M23 is said by South Africa to be funded by Rwanda. In Mozambique, we fought 12 years of war, where the apartheid government special forces were working to try and destroy our oil pipeline so that we can't fight apartheid. And they were trying to destroy, together with a group of rebels called Renamo, that again you can equate to M23. That South Africa says is funded by Rwanda. They say that because they know that the apartheid government funded Renamo. So you have to understand that there were wars that were fought that cost over $100 billion to liberate South Africa in neighboring countries. While neighboring countries were also destroyed by economic sanctions by apartheid companies of South Africa. This region of SADC lost over $110 billion then, which if you multiply today, you will see that it's over 400 billion. And South Africa never paid that money. The apartheid companies were shielded by the ANC when independence came. They became part and parcel of SADC. We could not make them pay reparations. Today, after that suffering for the freedom of South Africa, Africans are made to feel like they are inferior. But the Constitutional Court is making rulings that are clear that women and children of SADC must get health care if they are in this country. The aspect of whether they are legal or not should be dealt with by Home Affairs, who should eject them accordingly. But no South African citizen has a right to determine who is legal and who is not when they are not Home Affairs officials. And in time, we will have to go to the International Court of Justice to deal with this persecution of civilians. We cannot have people denying healthcare to sick women and children in South Africa. And what is interesting is you behave like this, anti-African, but a war is coming your way. You've got citizens in your country that are going to be funded by the Americans to try and destroy your country so that they can be able to take your land in Western Cape. Who will defend you? Who will stand by you?
I'm a teacher by certificate, professional. I'm not the one who caused Zimbabwe to be poor. I'm not the one who caused Malawi to be poor. Take it, mama. This is nonsense. Go and look for a job. Why am I cleaning your house? I sleep with this child the one night, crying. I wake up, I feed, I do my best. But now you are taking me like a stupid. You take me like a stupid. Women Zimbabwens are cleaning your house. Ask me these nurses. Oh man, this is a South Africa child. Guys, don't do that.
What must we do?
There's God in heaven.
Yeah.
God is going to deal with you, mama.
And you too.
This was cool.
And you too.
This is Africa.
And you
I'm
too.
standing on Africa, mama.
And you too.
This is Africa. This is Africa.
Africa for who?
Africa. Africa.
Africa
Mama,
for who?
I'm in Africa. What more? I'm not in Asia. I'm in Africa. President Ramaphosa